Hey North Coast, how you doing this morning? In fact, I hope you're actually doing a lot better than me. This is the third morning in a row I woke up feeling terrible. My wife looked at me and said, "You need to call in sick." And this is the third morning in a row I looked at her and said, "I can't call in sick. There's just so much going on today that I got to get after." We had a wedding that I had to do, that I committed to, a staff chapel that we were committed to. We had events going on that I need to show up at. And it's my own fault. I've been pushing things too hard for too long. My body finally caved in on me. Have you been there? Maybe you're starting off one of those Mondays where you're on your way to work or on your way to school or on your way to something going, "I don't want to do this. I just want to sit in a hammock on the beach somewhere with an umbrella drink for about 15 days, maybe 16 or 18 days. I'd like to know how many days I could sit there until I get bored of just sitting around." That's what I would like to do right now. But you made a choice, and you're on your way to whatever your commitment is, and you got to plow through it. And even filming this, my buddy Steve is behind the camera, and he's like, "Why don't we call this off?" And I said, "That's a good idea." And then I said, "No, we just got to plow through it." And it brings us to today just talking about choices. Can I take you back to the most familiar verse in the Bible? Can I take you back to the signs that are held up in football stadiums and soccer stadiums and sporting events? Can I take you back to John 3:16? This guy named Nicodemus, he's a Pharisee. He's been listening to Jesus, seeing the miracles, and he comes at night because he doesn't want any of his buddies to know he's really interested in this Jesus character. And he says, "Look, you got to be from God. I've seen the power that you've done." And Jesus talks to him about what he must do to be saved. And that's where John 3:16 falls in. In verse 13, he says this: "No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who has come from heaven, the Son of Man," referring to himself. "Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the desert, so the Son of Man must be lifted up, so that everyone who believes in him may have eternal life." Now this is Jesus just being brilliant. He goes back to a Pharisee and he brings in Moses and the law, because this is what the entire Pharisee's life is going to hinge on. And then that famous verse, "For," or because, "God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. And whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but men love darkness instead of light, because their deeds were evil." You want to know why you don't want to follow Jesus? You want to know why you don't give in? Because you just love living your life the way you want to live it. He goes, "But this is the verdict. God chose to love us. God chose to send his Son. Jesus chose to come to earth and set aside being equal with God. Jesus chose to pick up the cross. All of this was a choice, even at times when Jesus didn't feel like it. It reminds me of Romans 5:8. "But God demonstrated," or God showed his love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." So like I started, I hope you're off to a better day than I'm starting off with today. But for all of us, can you just, before you get on with your agenda, take a moment and reflect on the fact God didn't have to love us. God didn't have to send his Son. God could have come up with many different ways or erased humanity all in one finger snap and started over. But because of his love for us, he sent his Son, not to condemn us, but to save us, to set us free. On days like today, where I don't feel like doing what I'm doing, I choose to do things just because of commitment and out of love for people. And it's a very, very small fraction of what God has done. Yet a reminder, I don't deserve any of this. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve grace. I don't deserve mercy. I don't deserve joy. I don't deserve happiness. I don't deserve contentment. I don't deserve the Spirit of God in me, working in me, changing me, working through me. I don't deserve a single blessing in life. But God chose to show his love for us by sending his Son and allowing us to have this life in him. Wherever you are, whatever your day holds, if you're feeling great, if you're feeling like me today, stop and reflect on that simple fact of what we truly deserve, and yet in spite of that, what God has chosen to give us. May that draw us back to our love for him because of how much he loved us first. Have a great Monday.